Oh, we give praise and honor to live in Elohim. In the name of Yahweh, Shah HaMashiach this day. Pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and then but I know you, that you have not the love of Allah in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There's one that, if I had to believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writing, how should you believe my words? Psalms 112. Verse 5, not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in Yahuwah. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desires upon his enemies. He have dispersed. He have given to the poor. His righteousness endure forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. So, picking it up in verse 9. It's about time for us to come on down to the conclusion of this. Really quick. That. Let's look at horn. It is correct. Of course, this is strength, the flask of which contains the oil, a musical instrument, and a horn-like projection on the altar, also a hill and a ray of light. You have Kuf, Rosh, and Nun. So we see that the last Adam is everlasting life. This is how that horn shall be exalted with honor. When you look at this altar, you got room or being lifted up. Let's take a simple crack at this. Chapter 12. There came a voice from Shamaim saying, I have both esteemed it and will esteem it again. The people therefore that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said that Malachim spake to him. Yahushua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now the judgment of this world, now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And if I be lifted up from the earth momentarily. Now we give him a horn, Corinth. The last horn, or that last Adam, is going to be exalted with kabod, or with honor. Glorious abundance with honor. So let's come over here to 1 Corinthians 15. That page is no longer present. First Corinthians 15 and 35. But some men will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come, you fool? That which you sow is not quickened, except it die. I want you to keep that in mind. And that which you sow not. That the body that shall be but bear grain, it may have chance of wheat, or of some other, have pleased him, to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh. There's one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There's also celestial bodies terrestrial. The steam of the moon, another steam of the stars, and one star different from another star. Corruption, it is raised sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body, there's a spiritual body, and so it is written. The first man, Adam, was made a living soul, and the last Adam being exalted. We talked about him dispersing and giving to the poor towards the end on Saturday afternoon in regards that dispersion and giving to those who are needy and in the deliverance is the Ruach HaKodesh and the things that are given to it. That is, those who are needy of deliverance will seek deliverance. This is why when you turn the harlots would enter in before the Pharisees, because these people knew that they needed deliverance. See, at the end of the day, the only people who are going to make it in is those who know that they need it, because those who know they need it will move themselves into fashion in order to acquire it. You understand? They're going to humble themselves under the word. Therefore, that's why he said, "He that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water." And this he spake of the Ruach that he would give to those who believed on his name. It said he had not yet been noon, or the last Adam is everlasting life, and he is horn, that which is that Corinth, will be exalted or lifted up with honor, because that righteousness endures forever. So this is the everlasting righteousness. This is how to Psalm 75 and 10 real quick. You can pick Psalm 75 and 7. Make it go ahead and make it well, it ain't that long. I'll grab all of it because it's going to coincide with the verse of Psalms 112. Psalm 75. To the chief musician, off the sheath, a song of Asaph, unto you, O Elohim, do we give unto you, do we give thanks? The name is near, your wondrous works declare. Now, Paul, I want you to think about that. When we look at wondrous works, that's something we done dealt with. But let's look at declare. It is safar. It is a word that some of you may be familiar with. It is a word, if I'm not mistaken, it is used in Judges chapter 5. And it is. And that's dealing with those who are handling the pen of the writer. But it means to recount, or to retell, or to rehearse, or declare. Basically, to talk about something, to recount something properly. Samak, Pei, and Raj, you have grabbed hold to the words of the highest. Well, how did you grab hold to the words of the highest? Because remember, it says you give thanks because you know that he is near. His wondrous works do tell it or declare it. If you recall, wondrous works of Palah, that is marvelous, to be wonderful, surpassing, extraordinary, but most importantly, separate by distinguishing action. Now, there's a statement that's kind of my mind, right? What this man has done. We're not going to go into great detail, but again, you see the beginning of Psalm 75. They're giving thanks to Elohim because Yahushua came in the name of his father, and in coming in that name, his wondrous works, or the something extraordinary by distinguishing action that he has done, they are going to be able to go back and tell it, i.e., the basar, or the good news, or the good tidings. See, individuals. See, we done came up with, we're in such a different time period of dealing with the word that people just don't want to sit back and look at it. We want to make things to make him be like us versus just go ahead and letting it be known. That's why we started off a good man showing favor. You know, dudes, because they feel like it's a Christian thing or this, that, and the third, they don't want to talk about the fact that, nigga, you ought to die and go to hell. You know what I'm saying? Especially most bruised, definitely most Christians. Shoot, even people who don't believe, they don't want to hear that you ought to die. There's blood on your hands. And without strength, Mashiach died for the ungodly. And we don't like to have that conversation. That is the greatest news that you could ever be told. Because you're liberated from something that is greater than what men think liberation is. You're liberated from a battle that you cannot defeat. It tells you that in the book of Ecclesiastes, that the win is that discharge between life and death. You were liberated from something that you had no power to free yourself from, and that is death. That's not a conversation that many people want to have, because you have to give esteem and honor to Elohim. No man on this earth can liberate you from death. I don't care if he liberates you from a corrupt government. I don't care if he liberates you from a corrupt individual. All that pales in comparison from the fact that you were under the violent oppression of death. And only Elohim himself had the pity, mercy, and compassion to free you from a situation that you put yourself in. See, the devil didn't come and oppress you with death. You chose it. He told you that in the book of Isaiah. You have made a covenant with death. I have come to disannul it. You are in agreement with it. You agree to go to the grave. Now sit back and pause on that, because not only does it say a good man shows favor, but he lends. So therefore, with the mercy, pity, and compassion that he had, he chose to lend it unto others. You should recall that, because in Exodus 34, when Yahuwah declares his name, that's exactly who he declared himself to be. So when he guides his affairs according to the word, and then you come back down and you see how he has dispersed, he has scattered the Ruach HaKodesh unto whom he so chooses to give it. Therefore, his righteousness goes on for perpetuity, because we know that his name is as eternity, as the text bears witness to. And then on top of that, his horn, his heel, it could be Jerusalem, it could be the rays of light, it could be the horn of the altar, is exalted with glory, with abundant splendor. But see, we don't want to have that conversation, because we would rather shift all things to us and just cliche all praises most high in Christ bless and all the other things that we like to say to one another. But it's not rooted in your heart that you would rather recount and retell what he has done. There's another statement where it says in Psalms that I will speak of your righteousness and your righteousness alone. We don't like to do that, because we're a broken people, broken individuals with low self-esteem and no value and worth, who are seeking to prop ourselves up by making ourselves seem as if we are the vanguards and perpetrators and conveyors of the everlasting word of Elohim, when yet you are nothing but spittle and reputed as nothing in his eyesight, regardless if you're an Israelite or not, because you're nothing but dust and ashes. This man has no need for any of us. He uses us because he is merciful and righteous and just, and therefore, in doing so, that it might cause men to consider and repent and honor and fear him. But we don't have that mindset, and that's why we're not winning souls. You're winning converts to doctrine, but you're not winning souls. Let's continue. Verse 2. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly. Listen to what he says. When he receives the congregation, which of course is Lakak, when he fetches, lay hold of, and seizes. Moed for the congregation. So the congregation here is appointed time, attentive meeting, a sacred season. Y'all all know that. That's a set feast. When he comes to seize at the uprightly or Yashar. Now pause. Again, we talked about this the other day. This is Luke chapter 12. This is what you know in regards to him coming back during the time of tabernacles, or AKA the winter feast, because he doesn't say that he'll receive the congregation. He said he'll receive you at the appointed time. And it said, that's good. That's the one we got there. Luke 12 and then Matthew 24. Twelve and 41. I don't think that's what I want. I don't think that's what I desire. In a moment, I don't believe that that is what I desire. It might be, though. It is. Just 35. Luke 12 and 35. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning. And you yourselves like unto men that wait for the Lord when he will return from the wedding, that when he come and knock, that he may open unto him immediately. As for those servants whom the Lord, when he comes, shall find watching. So I say unto you that he shall gird himself and make them sit down to meat, and he will come forth and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch or come in the third watch and find them so, baruch are those servants. And this know that if the goodman of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not suffered his house to be broken through. But you therefore be ready, you therefore ready also, for the Son of Man come at an hour when you think not. Now listen, right? Psalm 75 has already bear witness that he is going to receive the people at the appointed time and judge and vindicate uprightly. And that is Yashar, Meshar, excuse me, that is even level, rightly, uprightness, straightness, equity, right down the middle. Is it right or is it wrong? Simply what he is going to do. Matthew chapter 24. I want you to pause. You see congregation, but again, congregation is not there. It is a word that is used for feast times, at an appointed time. You'll have people sit around and argue about, can you keep feast days in captivity? This is all the stuff that people, among many other things, that people like to argue about. The Sabbath is an appointed time. Let's sit back and look at something just in an English way of what an appointed time is. And I know y'all know this here, but this is just for clarification's sake. Because you never know. You never know who might not understand. You look at an appointed time, it is something at an appointed time. It happens at a time that was decided in advance. Now, this is just a scriptural type of definition, appointed in advance. Sometimes it can be translated as festival of feast, but that is not always the case. Now let's look at it in English. What does appointed time mean in just a simple English definition? Simply put, it happens at a time that was decided in the appointed hour where ceremony is drawing near. So when you look at he's coming at the appointed time, it has always been determined. Now we're going to read Matthew chapter 24 of what he had to say in regards to this matter, and we'll pick it up in verse 32. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When the branch is yet tender and put forth her leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Truly I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and hour, no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Abba only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For in the days that they were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving into marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So, the same token that the flood came at an appointed time, and he judged uprightly, he's going to do it again. This day has already been determined in advance. We know that when you sit back and you see in Revelation 19, he tell you to come and prepare yourself for the marriage supper of the Lamb. If you know the text, you know where all those things go pertain to. We could go through Deuteronomy with some stuff, but we're not going to do that right now. Let's look at verse 3 in Psalm 75. He says, the earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. So we look after they're being dissolved. It is moved. They have caused to melt. You know that he's returning with fire. Lift up not your horn on high. I'm sorry. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly unto the wicked. Lift not up your horn. Lift not up your horn on high. Speak not with a stiff neck. I take you to the beast and all that trash he talking. And all those people who, when they got hit with the plagues, began to blaspheme. promotion come neither from the east nor from the west nor from the south. Let's look at promotion. Room, sit back and to be rise, hard, which is mountain. So ain't no high mountain coming from the north, south, or east or west. That's what he told you. Ain't no rulership. Ain't no rulership coming. See, that's where you can take that and merge. That's why I didn't want to jump off all into it. Because what you see in Psalm 75 is the dichotomy that will be occurring during the time of the beast. Because those who know the word will be recounting and retelling of the wondrous works of Elohim. While you have a man boasting, lifting up himself. And again, this is tied to the last verse of Psalm 112 of dealing with the wicked and their latter end. Listen what he says, right? But Elohim is the judge. He put down one, he set up another. From the hand of Yahuwah, there's a cup, and the wine is ready. It is full of mixture. He pour out the same. For the drugs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. But I will declare forever. I will sing the praises to the Elohim of Jacob. All the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. And again, every one of us who dwells in Yahushua and Yahushua dwells in us will be exalted because his horn was initially exalted, as we've seen in Psalms 112. And let's return to Psalms 112. Well then. Psalms 112 and 9 yet again. He have dispersed, he's given to the poor. His righteousness endure. His horn shall be exalted with honor. Verse 10, the wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. Now, of course, we saw some of that on 75. But I want you to come to Numbers chapter 6. And again, in the continuance of his horn being exalted, the Quran for horn, and the things that we read in First Corinthians 15 in regards to sowing seed. I want you to come over here, right? I want you to come to number 6 because I have to do something else to be able to get into it. So I have to grab some of the stuff at the beginning. So I want you to pick it up at verse 1 in Numbers chapter 6. And here we go. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the sons of Yasharal, and say unto them, whether either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto Yahuwah. Now, I tell you right now, you do not need to take a vow of a Nazarite, because if you're in Mashiach, you're already in it. Now, of course, if you don't know what a vow is, it is Nadar. That is to promise to do something to Elohim. Now, of course, y'all know the statement people say in the world, don't make promises you can't keep. And Yahushua already told you, let your nay be nay and your yea be yea. Ain't no need to do that. Ain't no need to do that. Because if you make a promise to Elohim, you sure better keep it. When you look at separate, again, you have Palah. Now, this also can mean to separate besides the beyond one's power to be difficult to do or difficult to understand. It's a separate offering. Again, this is Elamad and Olive. So we see that the words of the shepherd are the strength of the shepherd. This is where he gets his power from the word. Let's continue. Now, when we have separate here the second time, of course, we have Nazar, Noon, Zayin, and Raj. I just want you to keep this in mind again, because we have the Zayin, we're going to go ahead and cut. Yahushua was cut or impaled to bring forth everlasting life in regards to this separation. Some of you know what Nazarite is. It is Nazir, or Nazir. And now you throw a Yod in there. You understand? So now you have Noon, Zayin, Yod, and Rosh. So now when you enter that Yod, you can sit back and take the works or the worship of Yahushua is what caused him to be crucified in order to bring forth everlasting life. It's for this separation. Let's continue. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. So let's pause. Let's come and swing over here to Matthew chapter 26. 26 and 26, because this is when Yahushua begins at this particular point to become a Nazarite in the regards of no wine or strong drink during the days of his separation. It tells you here in verse 4 that all the days of his separation he shall eat nothing that is made of the vine tree from the kernels, even unto the husk. This is something that it's been a long time, because it's not a need to talk. I know a lot of brothers take Nazarite vows honestly just to grow their hair out, so they can feel better about growing their hair out, truth be told. That's why most of them do it. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to separate see, most dudes just look at a Nazarite vow as they growing locks and not drinking wine. When it's really, you're saying that you're consecrating yourself and separating yourself to Yahuwah. So then ask yourself this question: do you really need to do that in this day and time when Yahushua has already done this for you? He has already, remember what he said, sanctify them with your truth. Your word is true. I have sanctified myself by the truth. Myself by the truth, that they might be sanctified also. It's already consecrated himself by the faith or the faithfulness and reliability of the word. No wine or locks are needed. But let's continue. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. He took the cup, gave thanks, gave it to them, saying, drink you all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. This takes us back to the cup that we were reading in Psalm 75. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Abba's kingdom. So we see at this point, this man has begun to separate himself. Again, I mentioned John 17. Let's go and look at it then. Just to see it off the page, that you can see as he begins to prepare himself for death, he is consecrating himself and separating himself for this cause. John 17 and 17. Sanctify them with your truth. Your word is true. As I have you have sent me into the world, even so have I sent them into the world, also sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also might be sanctified through the truth. Now pause. This just came to mind. I want to make sure that that's what that states before we look at it back in Matthew chapter 26. Let me make sure that that's what is needed. Don't worry about it. It's close, but not close enough. Let's continue in Numbers chapter 6. All the days of the vow of his separation shall no razor come upon his head until his days be fulfilled, in which he separate himself unto Yahuwah. He shall be Kadash. He shall let the locks of his head grow. All the days that he separated himself unto Yahuwah, he shall come at no dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his father or his mother or his brother or his sister when they die, because the consecration of his Elohim is upon his head. Now, consecration. Again, this one here is Nazir. Again, this is a consecration, a crown of separation of Nazariteship, didymium stones of charming or crown as a sign of consecration. Again, Nun, Zayin, and Rosh. So again, Yahusha is crucified for everlasting life. This is the crown of your Nazariteship, if you will. See, when he told you the Son shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. In order to set you apart. See, again, this is going back to a good man shows pity, mercy, and compassion, because there was no way that you could be sanctified or set apart for Elohim. This is why his horn is exalted. Because the last Adam, because you had that Koran, you got the Kuf, the Rosh, and the Nun. The last Adam is everlasting life. And the first Adam was made earthly, and the second Adam was made heavenly. So that's the only way that you can be able to consecrate yourself to Elohim. See, we walk around here thinking now that this man is satisfied because you're not drinking wine and you don't let your hair grow. That now you consecrated and you separated to him. And that man don't care nothing about that. That doesn't mean anything to him. The only mean thing that means something to him is the consecration that comes by the son of Elohim, taking us back to what's in Psalm 75 and 1, that you are ready, willing, and able to retell and recount and espouse the extraordinary things that this man has done that no other man could do. That's why he said, if I wouldn't have came, they would have not had sin. But now that I've come, they don't have any cover for it. I've come and did the works that no other man has done. I came and showed the mercy and compassion that no one could show but Elohim. See, at the end of the day, we want to talk about all this other stuff, and you don't really want to focus on someone saved you from something that you couldn't save yourself from. No matter how strong you think you are, no matter how many guns you think you got, no matter how tough you might think you will be, you are not going to be tough when you stand before the living Elohim. You're going to need his mercy, pity, and compassion before he be like, so you think he going, well, that man don't care nothing about the stuff you did in the community, nigga. But if you weren't separated by Yahushua, well, you mean nothing to him. You mean absolutely nothing to him. Because you're thinking that you're going to get in outside of the way that he said that you have to get in. That man say, no man come to the Father but by me. He didn't say, but by what you did in the community, nigga. He don't care. He doesn't care. That doesn't mean that you trust and believe in him. That just means you did good things. But you got to get in how he said to get in. And you're going to have to go by the man who he sent to be a sacrifice. And again, why would Elohim care about all this other stuff that we talking about when Elohim came and died for rebellious, gainsaying people that provoke him to his face? And you think you're going to buy your way in with things that you thought were right? When you didn't come for him for the atonement, for the reconciliation, for your transgressions that you committed because you oppressed yourself with death. No one did that for you. Satan can't make you do anything. So let's stop with that. The white man can't make you do anything. No one of the nations can make you do anything. No one oppressed you. You oppressed yourself. You oppressed yourself with violence and death. You did that. Nobody else did that. And he freed you from that. And you ought to tell every soul that you can come across. You ain't got to be running here, I'm an Israelite, I live like this. Man, who cares about all that, man? Let it be known. Oh yeah, my Elohim do wonderful works. Indeed, that they call you a Christian, so what? So what? That just shows their ignorance. That's more of a reflection on them than it is on you. Ask yourself this question. Why is it a shameful thing amongst brews for an individual to say that I will consistently and constantly declare the righteousness, the goodness, the mercy, the compassion, the love, and forgiveness of my Elohim to any and everyone who will listen to it? Ask yourself, why is it a negative thing that you are focused on that this man remitted your sins in order for you to live forever, and you scared to be called a Christian to look that funny? Is that really a problem with you, or is that a problem with the person who you are telling it to? That the first thing that they want to think when they hear that, that's the first, he's a man of war, and that he is. And that he is. Absolutely. And he gonna war and crack you across your skull. But did he tell you to go tell these people he was a man of war? Because see, when he declared that when Moses declared that Yahuwah was a man of war, it was in relation to what he had just done to the Egyptians. He had just went to war with them. But when the people broke his covenant and Moses threw them 2 tables of stone down and they broke, that's not who he told Moses who he was. When Jeremiah began to speak of him in the 32nd chapter, that's not who Jeremiah declared that who he was. And when Yahushua spoke of his father constantly and consistently, that's not who he was telling people who this man was. See, the war part is for his enemies. So if we're trying to win souls to the living Elohim, why would I be constantly worried about what he's going to do unless I was an audience with his enemies to let them know what was going to befall them? So if I'm trying to win souls, why am I overly concerned about what is going to happen to his enemies? Then if you are already in covenant with him, there's no need for me to tell you what's going to happen to his enemies. You're going to need to be girded up with the strength and the ability to endure to the end to receive a full reward. And if your motivation is just on what's going to happen to his enemies, you are motivated in the wrong factor. Because when you're faced with some manner of persecution or tribulation, what's going to happen to his enemies is not what is going to sustain. See, we don't want to hear that. See, this is not a popular conversation of which I speak, and screw and nigga who don't like it, and the vagina you came out of, and the testicles of which you emanated from. Because at the end of the day, the living Elohim is a gracious and merciful Elohim. He's full of forgiveness, but he does not by no means clears the guilty. And all men ought to come and honor him and throw down their souls at the altar of grace to find help in the time of need. Nevertheless, verse 8, number 26. All the days of his separation, he is Kadash unto Yahuwah. We don't need to read all through that stuff with the offerings and things of that nature. You can come on down, my friends, to verse 21. Well, you know what? Come on down here to about verse 8. And the Nazarite shall shave the head of his separation at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall take the hair of the head of his separation, and put it in the fire, which is under the sacrifice of the peace offerings. Now, when you look at hair, of course, this is hair, simple as that. San, Ayin, and Raj. So now you have been paired, and you know the highest. See, when you begin to shave your head, we look at shave as galak. Of course, this is to be shaven off, to be balded, gamal, lamad, and kat. So now that we see that the messenger, the messengers, we want to say rebuke or reproof, has separated you, because that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to shave off the hair of your head to be able to even know Elohim, or in simplest terms, remove the things from your head that keep you from your Elohim. But let's continue. The priest shall take the side and shoulder of a ram, one unleavened cake out of the basket, one unleavened wafer, shall put them upon the hands of the Nazarite after the hair of his separation is shaven. The priest shall wave them for a wave offering before Yahuwah. This is a dash for the priest with the wave, breast, and the heave shoulder, and after that, the Nazarite might drink. This is the law of the Nazarite who had vowed, and of his offering unto Yahuwah for his separation. Besides that his hand shall get according to the vow which he vowed, he must do after the law of his separation. Now, see, this is the key component about a vow of the Nazarite, which most individuals do not discuss. When you made a vow of the Nazarite, you promised Elohim you would do this in return for something. You were making a request unto Elohim that I will separate myself as a Nazarite. Look at what he said. According to the vow which he vowed. This is what your hand is going to get. See, a lot of people don't make that plain and make that known. When you made a promise to Elohim, you were doing it because you desired something from Elohim. Remember, case in point, Hannah decided to give Samuel to Yahuwah as a Nazarite if she would have gave him Samuel to begin with. That was her prayer. She said, I will give my son and sanctify him as a Nazarite from the womb if you allow me to have a son. And he did exactly that. And she did exactly according to that. And what did her hand get? She got more children, because that's what she desired from Elohim to begin with. The individuals don't really like to discuss that when you're talking about making a vow. Because they want to make it seem like it's an odd thing that you would step to Elohim and ask him for something. Because Elohim is not he's not an unjust Elohim, and he understands you might have a desire. And hey, he's like, I can fulfill that desire, but what you gonna do for me? In order for me to do that, what service are you going to perform for me? When we look at get, right? It's nasad, that which you attain or able to secure, to take hold upon. Noon shone and Gamal. So you want to be paired with the pathway of life. That's what you want to get for being separated unto this man. Because at the end of the day, that's the prompt, if you remember. Y'all remember Exodus 24? Let's come over here and look at Exodus. Verse 9. Verse 7. Y'all remember when we was looking at Exodus 24 and then people said, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that Yahuwah have said we will do and be obedient, and obedient is Shema. They said, we're going to listen, we're going to obey, we are going to believe it. This is the promise that they made. This is the vow that they made. They say everything that you said, this is what we're going to do. We are going to do it. So when you sit back and you come and you say you come to make a vow of a Nazarite or come to Yahweh to take hold of that covenant, there's something at the end of your separation of which you're going to get. What your hand is going to get to take hold on is everlasting life. Pause. John chapter 11, verse 25, just because I just like to read. Pick it up at 11:23. Yahushua said unto her, your brother shall rise again. Martha said unto him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection in the last day. Yahushua said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believe in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Whosoever live and believe in me shall never die. Believe you this? She said unto him, yea, Lord, I believe that you are the Mashiach, the son of Elohim, which should come into the world. So at the end of the day, if you're going to seek to want to be separated by this man, the thing that you promise, you seek to serve Elohim because you seek to get eternal life from him. And you should not be ashamed in stating that that is why you're doing it. Because that's why he extended you the opportunity, that you would see that he was such a compassionate and merciful Elohim. Because remember, he has dispersed, he has given unto the poor, he has given unto those who were needy of salvation, because he's a good man. So therefore, he shows pity, mercy, and compassion. And you say, you know what? I'm in need of your pity, mercy, and compassion, of which you did not owe me, but in your goodness and your greatness, because your horn was exalted, therefore you should be esteemed, because you have came and given us everlasting life. Then I have made the proclamation and profession that I will ask in Yahusha that you would grant unto me everlasting life and a seat in your kingdom. And a seat in your kingdom. Let's continue. Number 6 and 22. Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise shall you bless the sons of Yasharal, saying unto them, Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. And they shall put my name upon the sons of Yasharal, and I will bless them. Now, let's begin then. The first thing that we want to look at is keep. Of course, y'all know what keep is. That is shamar, and again, that is to guard or to protect. So notice that after the law of Nazarite has been manifested, Moses is told to speak unto the high priest and to his offspring. Now remember, Moses is as Elohim, Aaron is as the prophet, and if his sons are the sons of prophets, if you would in that regard. And he said on this wise, and that means in a particular manner. And it is ko, and it is kaf, and it is hey. And what's simple as that is that Yahushua was subdued in a particular manner. Now, we've already talked about Corinne, how he was subdued. We read it in John chapter 12, that he must be lifted up from the earth, signifying with death that he must die. So this man, and according that on this wise, he will bless them. He will bless them according to the manner that Yahushua was subdued. Well, he was subdued unto death to bring forth life. And in doing so, he will bless you and keep you or protect you. See, come over here to what he stated in John 17 also. Let me come in the right place. And I am. John chapter 17, verse 12. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. So again, he has protected them in his name. Those you gave me, I have kept. None of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Paul, John 10. John 10 and 25. Yahushua answered them, I told you, you believe not. The works that I do in my Abba's name, they bear witness of me. You believe not because you are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Abba, which gave them me, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Abba's hand. I and my Abba are one. Now, again, why is this happening? Because in the manner that Yahushua was subdued, because the last Adam is everlasting life, because his righteousness endured, because he has dispersed and given the Ruach HaKadosh unto those who are in need of deliverance, because he's a good man, and he shows pity, mercy, and compassion, and lends that pity, mercy, and compassion unto others, guides his conduct according to the word. So therefore, his heart is completely fixed and steadfast in the word of God. Number one, this is why he can come through according to this manner and keep you or protect you or guide you, as it stated in the Epistle of Jude, that unto him who is able to keep you from falling. So you're looking at keeping you from falling. And you're not looking at he's able to guard you and protect you. Because if you look at, say, in Proverbs 24, when it's and 16, when it's talking about falling, that's talking about dying according to violence. Well, you say, well, some of us will be persecuted. Well, we're talking about the violence of the second death. He's able to keep you from falling into that. But nevertheless, John 17 and 13. And now I come to you, these things speak I in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I've given them your word, and the world have hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil. Notice that what he said, not to take them out, but that he should keep them or protect them from evil. That's it. Again, this is the same. This is what happens when you are sanctified. He could keep you from the evil. Verse 25, he said he'll make his face to shine upon you. And guess what he has under there to be gracious? You know what it is. It is Canaan, to be pitied, to be gracious, to have mercy, to have favor, to be shown in consideration. So because Yahushua was subdued, not only has he made his face to shine upon you, let's come over here to Matthew 17. Matthew 17 and 1. After 6 days, Yahushua take Peter, James, and John, his brother, and them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. His face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And again, Koran, one of the words meaning is rays of light. So, nevertheless, and behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with them. They answered Peter and said unto Yahushua, Lord, is it good for us to be here? If you will, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. And while he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Hear you him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were so afraid. Yahushua came and touched them and said, Arise, be not afraid. And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Yahushua only. They came down from the mountain. Yahushua charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. Now, again, this is another thing with it goes to the Palah on an extraordinary thing. But of course, this is a reference back. We didn't read all of that in Exodus 34, how he made this man's face to shine in regards to Moses. But now he's causing his face to shine upon them, which, you know, Yahushua's face shined upon them with the resurrection, the way that Moses' face shined upon these people when he renewed the covenant, when Yahuwah proclaimed that he was a gracious, merciful, and forgiving Elohim who was abundant in goodness and truth. See, these are the correlations that are missed. What is missed is in the renewing of the covenant, Yahuwah again affirms that he is the only compassionate and forgiving Elohim on the earth. That all these other gods that people want to talk about, like a brother I know today, he said, man, if voodoo works so good, why it ain't keep the Haitians out of slavery and things of this nature? Why it ain't stop the Africans from going into slavery and things of this nature? Because again, nobody want to ascribe power to Elohim. See, we worry about the wrong things because you know why? Because you're trying to fit in. You're trying to fit in. You can't worry about fitting in. The only place you need to fit in is in heaven. And that's it. And if you're going to fit in heaven, then you're going to offend many people on the earth. You got to ask yourself this question. Yahushua didn't offend the scribes and the Pharisees in general, because all of them weren't against him, or the Sadducees, or the scribes, or the doctors of the law in general. He offended them because these men were unbelievers and wicked. They were disagreeable to Yahuwah. They were selfish, self-serving individuals who had no desire to do what the word says to do. Anything that them people could have been doing at that time stems from the simple fact that they did not believe in Yahuwah. They had no desire to serve Yahuwah. They had a desire to serve themselves in whatever capacity they saw fit to do that. And when you got a man coming through and he's pointing that out, see, when you look at most groups now, they're not going around pointing out that people is out here living sour. They're not pointing that out because everybody wants to be down with clans, cliques, and crews. Showing forth who got the strongest doctrine, who knows the most Hebrew, who got the most precepts on deck. That man wasn't on that type of time. That man didn't give a damn about them Romans. We done talked about that before. When they say Herod gonna kill you, he said, man, tell that dude, man, tell that father whatever you want to tell it. I'm not concerned with him and what he's doing. It means absolutely nothing to me. That's not a part of my mission. I don't care. If I wanted to straighten them and deal with them, then a Christian turn to be on assignment, for lack of a better term, but thank you, no. But a man goes where Yahuwah sent him to go. Like he told Jeremiah, I send you the many kings to prophesy to him. Tell him what time it was. Oh, he gonna tell him it, and guess what Jeremiah and any of them gonna tell him? You better get right with Yahuwah. You gonna simple as that. No need for all type of nuance and specifics and this, that, and the third. Well, you niggas know you out of pocket. You don't see Yahushua going to talk to the Romans about nothing at any time. He didn't give a damn what the people were doing because he already knew they were sour. The man already told you who he was sent for. He was sent for Yasharal. So what he talking to him for? Talking to him for what? I ain't got nothing to talk to him about. They're not my concern at this present time. That's what you have to understand. That's not my concern at this present time. My concern is these people over here. See, I need to deal with these people over here. See, what a lot of us don't understand, when you're trying to deal with this and deal with that and deal with this, then you're not going to be able to focus on what's the most important thing or what you're supposed to be focusing on. You get off your mission. You get off your purpose. His purpose was to redeem Yasharal first and foremost. Not worrying about what these people over here doing. And y'all know that from the book of Acts. When they say, man, they teaching things that's not lawful for us to observe, us being Romans. The people didn't give a damn about nobody's culture and what they were doing. But we here to preach this gospel, and this gospel is going to fly in the face of what you do because you worship idol gods. You niggas like boy booted. You like to have wild orgies. You like to steal. You like to defraud. And that ain't even on the mental level. So let's just deal with that. We know governments defraud, but why do governments defraud? It's not even governments that defraud. It's the people in the governments that defraud because a government can't do anything. It can't do anything. It's useless without the people in it. So what does it show? That the hearts of men is continually evil and their hearts are privy to do it. Because we know that if we look at certain power structures that do it, but what about the niggas in your neighborhood and in your family that defraud people every day? And niggas turn their eye from that. You got people who you deal with on a regular basis that defraud. That's what Paul said. Didn't he tell you don't defraud your brother? The Lord is an avenger of such who have that done. Because when he gave you that precept about pay a man for his labor, he's talking to you. Not a corporation, to you, an individual. Don't you be no sour nigga. If the man earned the dough and you got the dough, then pay him the money. It's simple as that. But guess what? People buck people all the time. People buck people all the time. All the time. People run game and scam people all the time. Out on a major level, scamming for peanuts. Running game for peanuts. Because of greed and selfish desire and interest. Because most individuals are not selfless. They don't have the heart of Elohim. But see, that's another conversation for another day. I need to hurry and stay on task so I can complete this and we can move on. So when we look at him shining his face upon you in that graciousness or that pity and compassion, that's what that was about in Exodus 34, which is what Matthew 17 was about. Him shining his face on you is him manifesting the pity and compassion and mercy and favor that he was seeking to extend. Let's continue. When you look at verse 26, he say to lift up your countenance and give you shalom. Well, when you look at shalom, that's also entitled to friendship. Friendship. He said, you know, you're my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. And he'll keep you in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. As Abraham's mind was stayed on him. That's why he was able to give him peace or to make him a friend, because he will lift up his face and you will be his friend, which is a concordance with him returning from heaven to redeem you. Then he'll put his name upon the sons of Yasharal. When you look at put that name, of course you know it's him. You got soon, which is to set a point to make to fix Shan, U, and Mean. He will pair you to the sacrifice of the Ruach, if you would. And this is how he set his name on you, because when you're married, man, you take his name. But again, when we look at that Nazarite or the Nazir, I want you to come to something else in regard, because we talk about seeds and things of that sort. I want you to come back to Leviticus chapter 25. I want you to come to verse 1. Because another definition for Nazarite is an untrimmed vine. You will speak unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, speaking to the sons of Yasharal, saying to them, when you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Shabbat unto Yahuwah. 6 years shall you sow your field, 6 years shall you prune your vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Shabbat of rest unto the land, a Shabbat for Yahuwah. You shall neither sow your field nor prune your vineyard. Now I just want you to look at prune. Just want to look at prune. That's Zamar. To trim, right? Of course, you know you got, if you're going to trim, you got Zayin there. Zayin, Meme, and Raj. So we see that Yahusha was cut or pierced because of chaos. This is why this vine and this vineyard was trimmed. Let's continue. That which grow of its own accord of your harvest shall you not reap, neither the grapes of your vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land. Now we look at that which grows of its own accord. It is a flock. This is an outpouring, or from spilled kernels, aftergrowth, volunteer plants or something that grows of its own accord. Of its own accord. Shema, Pei, God, and Kot. So because you have grabbed hold to the words of Yahushua, you are separated. But let's look at something in John chapter 15. This is after growth. This is a plant that volunteered to grow. And what did he say? Who shall go for us? He said, I'll go. And he noticed that he said that which grows up of its own, of a spilled seed. Because remember, we looked at that there, right? Scattered, so you got different seeds sown. See, this is a seed being Yahushua, because the seed is the word of Elohim. And the beginning with the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim, because Yahushua is called the word. When you look in the book of Revelation, he is the word. This is a scattered seed. Who scattered that seed? He said you couldn't have no power at all unless it was given unto you from heaven. You did not scatter that seed. Elohim, the Father, he scattered that seed. This is a seed that grown on its own. Matter of fact, before John 15, John 10. John 10 and 17. Therefore do my Abba love me, because I lay down my life that I might take it again. No man take it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down. I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Abba. This is a volunteered plant. This is a different type of spilled kernel. John chapter 15. Again, this is go back to Nazarite. Same word for Nazarite is the same word that you're going to see momentarily. He said, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bear not fruit, he take away, and every branch that bear fruit, he purge it, that it might bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more, except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abide in me, and I in him, the same bring forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. Notice what he said, that which grows of its own accord during the harvest, you can't gather that. It is a vine undressed. That vine undressed is Nazir, which is the word for Nazarite. This is an untrimmed vine. When you sit back and you look at Yahushua, he just told you that he is the vine, and he is an untrimmed vine. He has not been cut. How do we know that he had not been cut? When you're looking at him as forth as him growing of his own accord, is that you look at that and you see that in regard from him resurrecting from the dead. As him being an untrimmed vine, or that which grew of his own accord, because you didn't have anything to do with that. And again, that takes back to the many wondrous works. I want you to come over here to John chapter 20. John chapter 20. You could pick it up at John 20 and 27. I'll finish this verse 6 and Leviticus. Say, the Shabbat of the land shall be meat for you and for your servant and for your maid, for your hired servant and for your stranger that sojourn with you. For your cattle, for the beasts that are in the land, shall the increase thereof be meat. So pause. When you look at that, right? Now he told you that you'll have 6 years that you can sow your field and you can gather in the fruit and you can eat that. See, that would also have, see, that's a whole nother conversation that I'd have to spring off into something else when you're dealing with that manna. Because he told you when they came into the land of Yahushua, son of Nun, chapter 5, that they ate the fruit of the land and they didn't eat no manna no more. It's the same token when you look at a jubilee or the setting forth of freedom or the releasing of debts, because he told you that his flesh was meat indeed. And that this was a particular thing that was planted at a particular time for you to eat that fruit. But the key component is you couldn't eat that fruit to a set time. But nevertheless, we'll get to that momentarily. Y'all willing probably on the Shabbat. So John 20 and 27. Then saith he to Thomas, reach your finger and behold your hands, reach hither your hand and thrust it into my side. Be not faithless, but believing. Thomas answered and said unto him, my Lord and my Elohim. Yahushua said unto him, Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. But blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Many other signs truly did Yahushua in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you might believe that Yahushua is the Mashiach, the son of Elohim, and that believing you might have life through his name. Now, why is this important? Because again, we're looking at something that grew of its own accord. Of your harvest, you shall not reap. How we know? When they went to the grave, that's the semblance of them coming to reap or to gather. Let's see if he's there. He's not there. Who reaped him? They didn't reap him. His father reaped him because they told him, he's not here. He has risen. Because you can't gather grapes of an untrimmed vine because it's a year of rest unto the land. Because when you look at him going into that grave as that volunteer plant, that untrimmed vine, it was to do what? To bring rest unto the land. When we're looking at rest here, of course, you have Shabbat, which is Sabbath observance, or most importantly, Day of Atonement, the Feast of Trumpets, and the first and last days of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's what is used there. You have that day that's a day of rest or a day of reconciliation. You know what? We'll probably roll more of that into the Shabbat because it's more. I'm over my time. It's 8:45. So I would say hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. I bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua and appreciate your time. So there are things for us to consider and to look at. We're gonna weigh them out. Oh no, chastisement is when you're looking at something to stop you from the law, that's just keeping the word in remembrance. That man take you through something when it comes time to chastise you. He take you through something for that. And it can come in whatever form he see fit to accomplish whatever he's seeking to accomplish. We probably will more into that with that untrimmed vine and the purging and things of that nature. Might revisit some more stuff in the Nazarite vow. We'll transition to another verse in Proverbs more than likely and keep the show on the road. But don't ever at any time neglect the fact that your Elohim is a merciful Elohim, that he's just, righteous, and abundant in goodness and truth. I mentioned that Jeremiah 32. Let me leave you with this Jeremiah 32 before we get up on out of here. But in that Jeremiah 32, it says, Ah, Yahuwah Elohim, behold, you have made Shamahim and their rats by your great power and stretched out your arm, and there is nothing too hard for you. You show loving kindness unto thousands and recompense the iniquity of the fathers and to the bosom of their sons after them. The great, the mighty Elohim, Yahuwah of hosts is his name. Great in counsel, mighty in work, for your eyes are upon all the ways of the sons of men to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. That's one and there's another. Let's notice, right? He got love and kindness, but he's gonna give you back for what you earn. See, a lot of individuals just love to talk about this man of war, this, that, and the third, because they wish that they had the heart and the ability to crack skulls. But see, they're not gonna crack skulls like you because they don't have that type of heart in them. Jeremiah chapter 9. And want to make it seem like that's the only type of time that man is on. That cracking the skulls is reserved for his enemies. And he's always let that be known. So if we're dealing with a bunch of people that ain't his enemies, it doesn't even make no difference. Another one, I say, if Yahuwah let not the wise man esteem in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man esteem in his might, let not the rich man esteem in his riches. But let him that esteem in this, that he understand and know me, that I am Yahuwah, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth, for in these things I delight, saith Yahuwah. So there you go. This man is delights in loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness, or weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. As simple as that. He said that's what he takes kavats in, that's what he delights in. That is what is pleasurable for him. But we don't take delight in that. And that's something that we have to consider. But again, hallelujah for Yahushua. Bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. You who are willing till the next time, and we will do it again.